All right, here we have a Walker GHS with the V-Twin Kohler, and it's got a bad oil leak. I'll show you guys what to check for first, and when it's really bad, how to fix it. Here we go. Okay, so these Kohlers have an engine breather in the valley here, and what that does is this little hose puts the crankcase pressure as your piston's going up and down. It's getting a fire on top of it, pushing it down. Some of that leaks past the rings and pressurizes the crankcase. That filter filters it and puts it back into the intake so you can reburn it, better for emissions. When those clog, then the blow-by has nowhere to go, and it usually pops the main seal out. A way to check this is to take your dipstick out, and if you've got one of these little breathers, all I did was tape this to the fill tube for the oil and let it run for a little bit, and what would happen is your crankcase pressure would bleed out through here. If it stops the leak, you haven't flipped the seal, and you need to replace your intake breather. If it doesn't fix it, then there's another issue, and more than likely the engine has to come out. For me, it did not stop the leak, so there's a major issue with this engine and we need to pull it. Before we pull it, we're going to pressure wash it all off nice and clean and yank her out. Here we go. Okay, there's the engine out. 4 mounting bolts at the bottom. There's one bracket that goes to here. That goes to the frame. Just take that bracket right out. The wiring harness, just take it apart at the computer, and then take the one relay off and unplug the 2 holders for the fuses. Take your intake off, just slip your belts off, and then disconnect your fuel line, and the thing's ready to come out. Not much point in making a video because it is really easy, and if you can't get to this point, then you shouldn't be doing this job. Now, I'm gonna take some covers off before I pressure wash it again, just to see if anything's loose. It was running down right at the back here, right here. Oil filter was tight, obviously, check that. It's pretty straightforward, but there's some major issues here. It leaked when it was just sitting there, not just when it was running. So if your oil filter had an issue, it would leak while it was running, but not while it was sitting. So I didn't have to go too far. It is soaked in there. So definitely that seal is flipped. So we'll take the covers off so we can see what's going on in there, pressure wash it, and then I imagine that seal's flipped over. So there we go. Oh, that's not good. Remove all the screws around the outside, take your coils, flip them over. Oh, hate rust. Hey, who knew? This engine's actually gray, and there's some writing on there. Pressure washed it off. You don't have to watch me do that. Just hose it off, make sure that the fins are all nice and clean, that you can actually see through them, because it is air cooled. So you take the air from the fan and shove it through. It's the only way it stays cold. So now we can put the covers back on again. It's basically put it back together the way that you found it. Big issue is if this seal was spinning around on this shaft, it might have worn down this housing and then it will leak again. So we have to make sure that that's tight. Take a good look at that. We'll pull that seal out. It was out, but I popped it back in again for when we washed it because I don't want water getting in there. Same with the intake. I pull my dirty old sock back out of there. Oh, it's all wet. It wasn't a sock. Was it a sock? It was a sock. We're gonna clean that up the last little bit and then put it back together again. Here we go. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's a groove on the inside here. If you see that hole right there, that's because the oil is gonna come in your main bearing and then sit on the seal, and then it gets, it's allowed to escape through there again. I'm wondering if the oil level is up higher, because generally it's on the bottom. The oil that comes in has to be able to go somewhere, otherwise it pops the seal out. So regardless, we got to remove this keyway so we don't cut the new seal. And we're gonna silicone the crap out of it because I don't think that this is anything new. Somebody has siliconed the snot out of that one already too. So I did order that seal, but you know what? I think I'm gonna leave it alone because it is not leaking. And this one's actually really easy to get at. It only takes like 20 minutes to pull the engine. It's gonna take me longer to replace that seal and clean all that up. And it's been done before. And it seems to be holding. So I'll give them the seal and leave it in stock. And I will warranty that. They're just the golf course. They're right beside me. So anyway, let's pop that seal in. So I might scuff the very outside with a little bit of emery cloth just for the silicone to bite a little bit. And then hopefully call that good. I've honestly never done this before. So we need to find that breather, and most of these covers will probably go under the cover, so we'll end up having to take that apart anyway. So here we go. So that right there is the breather. She's pretty black, but it is in there. Let's pull that out. It's not much. And it's very, very crumbly. That's really, you don't want that in your engine. That's pretty sad. A breather kit, and Gary must have been on the assembly line because he was told to make a breather kit which would consist of a gasket and a breather. Instead, it shows up as a breather cover and a gasket, but not the actual breather. Gary can't follow simple instructions. Let's make this non-wearable part that I can drop on the floor and is fine, and a gasket and no actual engine breather. I don't know what's wrong with people. Anyway, we'll use some steel wool. Here we go. Just take some steel wool, pull off a decent chunk. What you want to do is have the oil hit it and drop back down while allowing the vapors to go through. You pack it too tight, it'll gum up, and then you'll be doing it again. to put that little raised section on there that really doesn't go through, doesn't do anything, and now it hits this cover. So might as well just use the old one again. I don't get it. Okay, so we've got our screws torqued down. 12, 14 foot-pounds is fine for them. Don't get too carried away, just snug them up. We're gonna put our governor back on again. Our governor goes on here, and basically that, when you go under load, when you find that dead bird in your lawn and you hit it with your mower and it bogs down, there's weights inside that will go in because the centrifugal force keeps them out, and opens up the throttle a bit to try and keep your RPM the same. Get that bird through the mower deck and out the side and keep cutting. To put your governor back on again, because there's a split in here, you can see the mark. I can anyway on the shaft. Likely you can too if it's been on for a while. Just put it back in the same spot. And before we get into the other cover, putting all the plastics and stuff back on again, just take a little bit of air, very low pressure, and make sure that it's coming out of here. So we want the blow-by to go back and get burnt again. We don't want it to pop this seal or the other seal out again, because that's for nothing. So here we go. Everything kind of put back together again. I'm not 100% sure where this bracket goes. I think it's to hold the wiring harness in place there, but I don't know. Aaron already has the front half of the footage, so I'm not sure where that bracket goes. I can't find it on a picture, but don't get too stressed out about little stuff like that. Those were the only two holes that lined up, and your camera is your best friend. Take pictures of what you're doing, videotape it, and then if you forget where something goes, just look at the camera. So I'll watch the video when it comes live and make sure that that was where that bracket went. Other than that, we are ready to put it back in the machine. I need to get my grass cut and give this mower back to the golf course so they can cut their grass, because I've had it for almost a month. Yeah. Anyway, remember, you can do it. It's not a big deal. Take your time, and it'll work out just fine. Save some money, do it yourself. Here we go. Putting the belts around the pulleys, don't tighten them. Before you bolt the engine in place, gives you a little bit more room. You can move the engine to wherever makes the most sense. So I was close, but that goes on this side to hold the fuel line off of this hot engine, so the whole thing doesn't burst into giant flame ball. So close, so close. Move that over, put the throttle cable on, the intake back on, and we got a running lawnmower. Here we go. So a little bit about this Walker. The Walker is a great mower. Of all the mowers that I've tried, this one does by far the nicest job. This is a gas 26 horsepower. I have the diesel option with the D722E, but I'm currently looking for an engine for mine because it froze in the winter because the antifreeze wasn't good enough. Stupid, but yeah. Made in USA, and the price definitely reflects that. I think this one was $14,000 or $16,000. The diesel one was close to 20. The deck is in the front. It blows it into a chute underneath the seat. The blower is right here, which is clogged because I was cutting in the rain. It stopped raining, so we can keep going. It's kind of a pain because the grass falls on the engine, but I haven't had it catch fire yet. And then there's a chute in the back that is on a 24-volt wiper motor and goes back and forth. So it takes all the grass and blows it into the back, leaving no clippings on the lawn, which makes for a really neat lawn. The deck flips up super easy by pulling these two pins, even though it's hard lining up the shaft when you take the deck right off. But you flip her up, clip it in place, and that lets you get at the blades. They spin opposite, so the gearboxes are attached. I see that one's leaking a little bit, so I have to check that. Very nice mower. The issue with this thing is, because there's so many moving parts, when they get older, it's a constant battle to keep all the belts and every stupid little thing working. So they can be a pain, but proper maintenance helps with that. And realizing that after a while, you just need to replace a bunch of parts. So slide that together and let's cut some grass.